වැරදි කරන කිසි කෙනෙක් මම රකින්න ලෑස්ති නෑ.
වෙන කණ්ඩායමක් ආවොත් මේ නිදහස නැති වෙනවා.
අද ඩොලරය 159යි.
මේගොල්ලෝ සුදු කරපටි මංකොල්ලකාරී.
මේ මම ඇමරිකානු පුරවැසියෙක්.
Welcome to the Newsfirst newsroom. I'm Ramesh Irugal Bandara. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe made a very special statement to the media today. Let's listen to what the Prime Minister had to say.
We accepted the facts. We as a government failed to fulfill the aspirations of the people. We have decided to move ahead, taking the results into consideration. There will be a change in ministers and their subjects within the government, steered by the President. We will also see to the strong policies of the government. The United National Party is committed to build a new breed of young leaders. These young leaders are among the ministers and the parliamentary group. They are among the provincial councillors and the party members. We have been given a mandate and we must work within that. We cannot step out of that. We need to have a dialogue. Traditionally, we hand it over to the seniors. But as we are going to create a new breed of young leaders, I have handed over this task to a group of them. We will appoint a team to work on restructuring the party. We hope to plan it out in a month and move ahead. Now, it certainly isn't the first time that Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has made similar statements. Of course, the United National Party is well known. It is one of the oldest parties in the country and is the single largest political party in the country till today. However, over the past 24 years, the numbers that they've been pulling in at the elections have been gradually declining. Let's head over to this side to look at the UNP voter base over the past couple of years. As you can see, if you consider from 1994, 44% of the voter base was for the UNP. It dropped down to 40% in 2000, 46 in 2001, that was when they won an election, 38 immediately after being in power, going down to 29 and coming up to 46% once again. This was with the resurgence that came in with fielding a common candidate after fielding a common candidate. Now, the latest symptom in this long drawn-out disease are the results of the local government elections 2018, which is right here. So, from 46% in 2015 to 32.61% after the conclusion of the local government elections. So, the numbers, they speak for themselves. Now, with the election defeats, there have been calls for changes in the United National Party leadership. We recall in 2000 when Gamini Atukorala led a voice for change in the United National Party. The UNP leadership cleverly changed a couple of positions, appointed a few people to different positions in the United National Party, and overcame this call for change. In 2004, after being in power and losing an election, there was another call for change. This time, they appointed a committee, and that was the Pandit Ratna Committee. Now, this committee brought forward a number of good proposals for reforms to be made within the United National Party. However, unfortunately, many of these proposals were not implemented. And instead, they again did what they are used to doing. They changed a couple of seats, changed a couple of heads in the leadership of the party. The leader did not change, and this challenge was once again overcome. In 2009, there was another rebellion inside the United National Party. This time, the youth of the party took the lead in calling for change. This time, they avoided this rebellion by appointing a committee on leadership with people like Vijaydas Rajapaksa and Joseph Michael Pereira in order to overcome this crisis. After 2009, in 2010, there was a presidential election, and eventually the reforms led way to the United National Party not fielding their own candidate at the presidential election and instead supporting common candidate Sarath Fonseca. 2012, there was another call for a change within the United National Party. This is when the rank and file of the United National Party marched on Sirikota, the UNP party headquarters. They marched on Sirikota. As the UNP rank and file were marching on Sirikota, there were calls that were made, and eventually there were RDA workers working right in front of Sirikota as the people were marching in, paving the road, blocking the way for the protesters who were coming in. Again, The leadership cleverly weathered the storm by appointing what they call a leadership council, which is nowhere to be heard today. Now, it is during this time, in 2012, that the late Girambe Anandathero wrote to the UNP leadership. In a letter to the UNP leadership, he noted that he had attempted to meet with them on 27 occasions, but had failed. He had also stated that as long as the United National Party does not feel or understand the pulse of the people, the pulse of the masses, it will not be able to regain its former glory. Since 1994, the party has faced defeat after defeat, and there have been many positions that have changed, except for the leader of the UNP. Many positions in the UNP have changed since 1994. There have been many heads that have been shuffled in and out. And as a result of this, there were many people who were disillusioned by it, and this eventually led to about 38 or so parliamentarians abandoning the UNP at one point and crossing over to other parties. Even now, in a backdrop where the Prime Minister is speaking of a leadership generation, the UNP is still struggling to gain the support of the masses in rural Sri Lanka. Well, this is what UNP stalwart Srinath Pereira had to say about the UNP at present.
We hope the present government would stand up against fraud. It was brushed aside for 3 years. I state the following with responsibility. The leadership of the United National Party and the leadership of the Flower Bud are working with an understanding of protecting each other. I state this in public. As long as they are in power using these mechanisms, those in the Flower Bud and the UNP will go unpunished. I do not think the present leadership of the United National Party will ever change, no matter how much you hurt them. They resort to various means until the people forget this in a matter of weeks. Thereafter, they will continue with their same journey. This is what the UNP leadership does. I pray at least this time around they would learn a lesson from this situation and change their paths to one that would be better for the country.
Now, you heard the views of UNP stalwart Srinath Pereira. Sujiva Senasinghe and P. Harrison, ministers in the current government, reflected on the outcome of the local government elections, addressing the 27th conference of the National Union of Post and Telecommunication Officers. This is what they had to say.
Some believe the result of the local government election will ruin the government. This is an opportunity for us to rectify our flaws. We must think more about the people. If we cannot identify the pulse of the people, they will give us a red light. They have done so. You must be prepared to make it green. We have been given the message. If you cannot do so, prepare to leave. Our leaders were warned continuously. We were in the same boat and we shot at our own legs. When both sides did the same, the boat eventually gets damaged. I think the leaders have become aware of the situation. We have a lesson to learn. We have 2 years to look into these flaws and correct them and to uplift the lives of the people and deliver development aspired by them. I was in the media most of the time during the presidential election. After that win, we were pushed back. Another group came forward. We did not get an opportunity to perform. As always, I have to say, I have a state ministerial portfolio and it has no power.
Now, there are a lot of questions as to whether a cabinet reshuffle will take place, because there have been various media reports and rumors going around since about a week ago. So, will a cabinet reshuffle take place? This was the question that was posed to Dr. Rajitha Senaratha, co-cabinet spokesperson in Horana today. This is what he had to say.
සර්ගේ මේ අමතේ දూරේ වෙනසක් වෙනවද?
ඒකෙදි බලන්න ඕනේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ අහනවා.
දැන් මේ නීතිය සාමය දෙනවා කියලාත් ආරංචියක් තියෙනවා.
මේ තියෙන සාමය ඇති.
සර් දැන් ආණ්ඩුවේ මේ පාතාලේ වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. අදත් මේ STF එකයි මේ පාතාලේ අතර වැඩි හෝමාරුවක් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
පාතාලේ හැමදාම තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අද නියමිත නීති ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්නවා.
ආණ්ඩුවේ ඉදිරි සැලැස්ම මොකද දන්නේ?
So, Minister Rajitha Senaratne expects a cabinet reshuffle to take place on Sunday. What about State Minister Lakshman Yapa Abhiwardena? This is what he had to say after an event at the Ruhuna University.
The President will decide whether a cabinet reshuffle will take place or not. The media reports are only hearsay. I cannot state when the President would make a decision or what type of decision he would make. We do need a cabinet reshuffle because the people of this country have cast a vote against the government for various reasons. We need to accept it and make changes accordingly.
Now addressing an event today, parliamentarian S.M. Chandrasena of the joint opposition elaborated on certain experiences that the joint opposition has had to face these days.
President Maithripala Sirisena said if all members from the joint opposition and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party stand together, there will be 96 members, and with that number, he can form a government. Assuming there is some truth to it, Mahinda Rajapaksa gave his consent. In the end, it was all false propaganda. Though we were prepared, they were not. They want to be as they were. It is clear. If they continue like that, the entire family is in ruin. We cannot betray the millions who voted for the flower bud. We are being deceitful. The people will be deceived. We are not prepared to do that. We will continue with our struggle.
You heard the views of the joint opposition. What do the members of the former administration feel about the current political situation in the country? Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and former Minister Basil Rajapaksa shared these views at two separate events held today.
It
looks like a collective of water. They don't have the strength they used to have. The country is unstable. It is not clear if there is a government in the country. As soon as we made a statement yesterday, the Prime Minister made a statement. A secretary stood up and asked, what was the written agreement? When an agreement is over, you cannot orally say it still continues. Nobody is putting forward that document. The government failed to function for 3 years. Can they do it in the remaining 2 years? We have achieved victory. The people have given a decision at the local government election. The government has been rejected. I think the government would take a decision on that. Our main objective is to call for a general election. The joint opposition has decided to demonstrate, demanding a general election.
From the Rajapaksas to the Bandaranayakas, former President Chandrika Bandaranayak Kumaratunga expressed these views on the national government, her sentiments on the national government, to the media during an event in Kampaha.
reshuffle එකක් තියෙනවා. කැබිනට් reshuffle එකක්. ගෙච්චර ලොකු වෙනසක් නෙමෙයි. නැතු? තා මොකද්ද? මැති වර්ණේ පැවැත්තුවා. සමහරු දිනුවා සමහරු පෙරදුනා එච්චරයි. ඊළඟ සැරේට එච්චරයි දිනනවා.
මේ තරම් ජනතාවට උදව් කරද්දී ඒ යුද්ධයට මේ මනාපේ බල ගන්නේ
මට මම ඉල්ලුවේ නෑ නේ මම
නියෝජනයක පක්ෂයක
මම ඉල්ලුවේ නෑ මන් සම්බන්ධව නේ මිනිස්සු ඡන්දෙ දුන්නේ පක්ෂය සහ පක්ෂයේ ආණ්ඩුවේ යම් යම් ප්‍රතිපත්ති වලට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ විරුද්ධතාවයක් ඇති ඒක හන්දෝ ජනාධිපතිතුමාගෙන අගමැතිතුමාගෙන.
That's it from the newsroom for tonight. Chaturanga, it's back to you.
Thank you, Ramesh, for that update. Before we head into more news, we are going to go into a short commercial break. Stay with News First.